Cannabis sativa is a fibrous flowering plant that was initially indigenous to Central and South Asia, but it is now grown all over the world. It has been legalized for growth in Barbados under certain stipulations. Now, we basically got to move with the times. Remember in the 30s, I believe, in the years of prohibition, alcohol was illegal, you know? So with the legalization of alcohol, nobody thinks anything about someone having a drink. Even if you decide to be a drunk and to be all over the place, as we say it, talking about, nobody looks down on that other than the fact that you're wasting your money and your time and your life. We're seeing now that cannabis is moving from this illicit, illegal area into a legalized area on the specific parameters. But we're gonna have to still deal with the stigma attached to the product from the previous environment. And indeed, we must remember that it is only authorized for certain use within a certain framework under certain rules and guidelines. It is still not legal to operate outside that framework. So one of the main things in this industry in Barbados coming up is going to be the attachment hesitance. People, oh, I don't want to be associated with this activity or whatever. As a security provider, I can see it. We've spoken to people that we know are going to be involved with this, and they just hinge around. They don't want to commit to say, fine, we're gonna do this. Let's talk security. I'm not interested in anything else but security. And anything that is discussed is of course confidential. But they're hesitant to get involved and to say anything that would associate them with the product. This will change. So with government's approval for this industry, what has sprung up is the opportunity for companies which can provide transportation security, facility security, personnel security, as well as security monitoring in the electronic space, and of course money transport. All right, this is $1 billion industry globally. Don't get caught up in the $1 billion industry statistical statement. That is applied to Barbados. That's a global figure, right? It's a growing thing. We will get our section. It's obviously something that will possibly is an area of foreign exchange revenue. Um, but as the movement to legalize medical marijuana grows, you're gonna get legalized shops. You're gonna get insurance companies having to jump on board to facilitate, step up and facilitate coverage. Now, as consultants, we've seen many challenges to new technologies coming in or to new industries coming in. There was and probably still is a challenge for insurance for drones. Because the actuaries didn't have any figures on which to base their calculation, and there was no legislation in place to sort of provide a framework under which they could calculate premiums. Um, the excuse me, the medical marijuana industry is going to go through the same teething problems. Um, the legislation is in place, but they're going to have to work out the risk of robbery, the risk of any other kind of public liability. Um, be, in order to be able to stay at premiums. So we're gonna have to probably see a little lag in the insurance coverage. But insurance is going to be critical because you need to insure your product, you need to insure your equipment against theft, against fire. Um, so I don't see it as a how should I put it, an insurmountable challenge to overcome or to negotiate. But it may be something that may take a couple weeks or months to regularize after this thing really hits the ground and starts rolling. Now, we're talking about insurance companies, and we're also going to have to step up on security solutions. So it's going to take a next level security officer. You're going to have to be very observant with employees, that the stock is not being sold behind the owner's back. That it's not being diverted in any way. And the whole nature of the thing is going to be a very high-tech solution. So they're going to have to be very comfortable with high-tech solutions. All right. They also obviously in quite a few instances are going to have to be armed. So you're talking about a higher level security officer. And I think people in the industry need to realize this, as the old people say, good thing the cheap, cheap thing the, or cheap thing the good, good thing the cheap, this kind of thing. You have to pay to get service. All right, this is a world where we tend to have an attitude. Let me see if I can do it myself, or let me get away with the smallest expenditure possible. But I'm going to tell you up front, this is one of the industries you don't want to trade out with. All right, you need to get solid, robust security on the ground, or you are going to suffer in a significant way through pilferage, through theft, through all sorts of vulnerabilities that you're going to expose yourself to. All right. Remember, criminals will try to rob a legalized marijuana store. So the most important thing for these companies is to realize the risk. It's a risk management situation, right? And we approach this integrated solutions approach from a risk management perspective. We're not looking at putting assets in place, security guard in the corner, access control, intrusion, fire alarm, perimeter sensors, this kind of thing, and slap them all together in a framework. There is a solution. There's a business concept that you have to marry. You have to mesh the business with the solution, and come up with something that is effective for the industry as it relates to Barbados, because our environment is going to be different from the lessons learned from other countries that are further down the road than we are. We've got our special environments, our special conditions, our special restrictions, our special limitations, and you need a consultancy that is able to deal with that from that point of view. So one of the main things is we're going to have to realize the risk. Insurance companies are going to have to be comfortable with that risk. So you're going to have to deal with some policies, some standard operating procedures and company policies. That's going to be the base of the marijuana operation, and of course, it's going to be the base of licensing application. Now, what are your policies? How are they interpreted? And what are the duties and obligations of the premise owners? The security solutions provider and the insurance companies. Now, medical marijuana establishments have customer personal information, because you got to present your ID card for service. And if someone breaks in, either by hacking or by physically stealing personal information from the establishment, you need to be covered from an insurance standpoint in terms of the kind of identity theft that may result from that. You need to make sure that your chain of command, in terms of reporting, in terms of post orders, in terms of the contract itself, is clear. Who is your security officer supposed to report to? Who is he supposed to report to? Is he reporting to the management on the premises? Is he reporting to the supervisor that happens to be to be on the premises at the time? Is he reporting to the supervisor of the company, of the security provider? All these things are very important. All right. Now let's deal with the aspect of employees who are using marijuana off the organization's time and property. So they're coming to work with the tactical levels of THC and the metabolites of that in their system. This should not be a challenge, of course, for the employer, because we advise employers to suggest to their employees that if they choose to smoke marijuana, knowing that it remains in the system for up to 30, sometimes in some cases up to 60 days after consumption, that if that is their drug of choice, maybe they should be finding another job, because you don't want to expose yourself as a security provider, as a distributor, as a dispenser, as an armor carrier security provider, to people who are at work impaired and could compromise the integrity and the ethics of your operation. So you want to keep your operation clean, right? So understand that as a security provider, you've got cash, you've got product. This is both for security provider and a practitioner in the business. You got cash, you got product. Prime target for criminals, both opportunistic, and planned. You may need to deal with some testing in your workforce, because they may like medical marijuana for recreational use, or they may dislike it. But in the long run, it's not really a matter of what one likes or dislikes. It's a question it's a question of risk for you and your responsibilities under the law. So the more steps that you take to keep operations within the boundaries and ethics and regulations, the better to protect your operations from negative consequences.